Okay guys, so I keep getting asked what I use when I'm doing seed raising, and for those that are purchasing seeds from seed bank, what's the best mix to use? And everybody has their own different favourite. These are a couple of options that I like to use. This is the Koya seed raising mix, and it's a block of Koya fibre, natural core fibre. It also contains some added fertiliser and added growing medium as well, so that it helps to feed your seedlings while they're slowly growing in their seed raising mix. When I'm potting them on, I tend to go with cocoa peat. It's a ready to go mix already made up. So it just makes things a little bit easier to handle, and you don't need to use such big volumes. And this particular bag is just a 30 litre bag, and it does plenty of individual little pots. And then also to that I'll add some perlite, propagation perlite, the fine one, and also perhaps some vermiculite, especially if it's summer and we need to keep the plants and the seedlings quite moist. So when they've been potted on, they still need to be kept moist. And so they're the three main products that I use when I'm potting on, and also this one here for the seed raising when I'm just doing straight seeds. That being said, I'm actually coming into winter and I'm going to do some Neoregelia seedlings today, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this combination of the perlite, the vermiculite, as well as the cocoa peat, and I'm going to mix them up into little containers and then sow some seeds, and we'll see how they progress over winter. So here's a couple of examples of the containers and the mix before I've mixed them through. So the bases have got some of the ready mixed cocoa peat fibre already in them, and then to that I've added just a split it in half of perlite and half of vermiculite to the top. I've got two different size containers that I'm going to use. I've got the really deep one, which I'm going to use for the larger growing ones, and then I've got the narrower ones that I'm going to use for some of the smaller varieties. So I'll mix all of those together. Now the easiest way to mix them together is whack a lid on and then just give them all a quick shake. And what you end up with is a nice evenly mixed up potted medium, ready to add some seeds to that. Okay, next step is added a little bit of water to each of the containers. Now this is already sterilised potting medium. If it wasn't sterilised, I'd now put the lids back onto these and put them in the microwave for a minute and then let them cool down to sterilise them. But I've used boiling water that has cooled to rehydrate the cocoa peat, plus the mix had already been sterilised as well, so all of the components are free from any bacterial contamination. Now these are the seeds that I've got prepared. These are ones that I've dried already. This is a Neoregelia that I prepared and dried last week, and so the seeds are now ready. Now I like to put them into a container instead of pouring them straight into the mix. This way I can sprinkle them just like you would with a little bit of salt and pepper, I suppose, over the top of the potting medium. And there's enough seed, I would guess, in this container to possibly do 2 or 3 of these smaller takeaway containers. I'm using the larger wide ones for this particular variety because it is a really big one, and so just sprinkling them all across the tops of the medium. You're not to cover these once they've been put into their containers. You don't then cover the seed with anything. In nature, birds would eat the berries from the different plants, and they would then go along on a branch top and they would excrete the seeds out on branches, and that's how they replicate in nature. And so we're trying to achieve the same here. Once we do that, we just mist them with water until the seeds are nice and moist, because this starts the growing process. And we'll do this one as well. Now, 2 ways to do your tagging. Firstly, you do have to write the name down, and you also need to put a date, the date that you're sowing your seeds. So that's on a tag on the inside. for future reference. And I also then, once the lids are on, I also then write on the outside, because at some point I'm going to take that lid off and discard it and pop these into bags, and sometimes I don't have tags in them, so I find it's easier just to write directly onto the container, and then there's never any doubt what the seedlings are that are growing inside. So I'll move on. I've got quite a few packs of seeds here to put down in these other containers, and then we'll come back in, I don't know, give it a couple of weeks, and we'll see how all of these ones start to progress. And that's how we go about starting to sow all of our different hybrids. It's a pretty easy technique to do this. Your lids just need to stay on. You just need to check them once a week or so, probably a couple of times a week, just once they start to get going. You need to then mist them with water. Now, if any fungus or anything like that does start to grow on them, then you might need to do a dilution of Milton or bleach or another fungicide with the water to spray them. But by washing your seeds and getting that protective coating off the seeds, you're eliminating a lot of that risk of fungus, and using nice sterilised and clean containers is also a good way as well. So there's a few quick little tips on how to go about it. Now, the reason I'm using this perlite and vermiculite mix, it just aerates the coir fibre, and I'm finding that for plants like Neoregelias that do take a little bit longer to get going, the cocoa peat's just getting a little bit too dense by the time I need to disturb their roots and hot them on, and so I don't want to aggravate the plant and lose more seedlings by disturbing those roots. So a nice light mix that's easy to disperse is a better idea in my opinion. I'm not a professional, definitely not. This is just a quick way to do it. Anyone can do this at home. This is the easy part that doesn't take up a lot of space. What takes up the space is the next couple of years afterwards, when they will need to be separated and selected out. So that's how we go about raising some seed from the seed bank and seed that you're collecting at home. Okay, happy gardening. Bye.